Wow. Thoughts?
Hello. That was great.
You like that?
Yeah, super chill.
Thank you,
But did
Zach
you make
Hughes. I didn't make it. No, that was Zach.
okay.
All Zach Hughes. Thank you for that, Fingal, and welcome to the Hat Chat podcast, episode 86, with your hosts, Chris Trott,
Ross Hornby,
Alex Smith. It's the 11th of February 2022, and we're still all here. That's good, isn't
Yay!
it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Barely,
We're
but
still
we're here.
all here, just at the moment. And the year has begun. It's going well. Lots of interesting things happening. Lots of content on our YouTube channels, Hat Films and Hat Gaming.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's beginning. It's been a while. But things are starting to happen again, which is fun. And we are going to be talking about a few things today. Some hypotheticals suggested to us by our Patreon subscribers. So thank you to them. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/hatfilms. And your name will come up at the end of the podcast, which is really exciting.
Well,
if the finger is really short, the name goes really fast.
Really quickly.
And if you're listening to this, you don't even see that. But thank you to those people for making this podcast still a thing. And that's what you get. So cheers, Patreon.
They also get to vote on the hypotheticals of the week.
That's the other thing.
Which is another huge interactive element. It's almost like you're best friends with us, really. Like having that dialogue back and forth. Oh, it's crazy on Patreon. Honestly, get involved.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And you only really get to vote if you're like online at the time the poll's available
like
and
before,
awake, depending on your geolocation.
There is that. But, it's wild being a Patreon.
It is nuts.
So,
do you think there's a huge crossover between people who watch our content and listen to this? Do you think people have stumbled across this organically and gone, I'm sticking with this podcast?
I hope so. But I don't think so.
I doubt it, yeah.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Why do you think that's just...
Because we're only really funny to people that have had years of investment in us. They're so invested now that they can't break up with us.
Right, okay.
That's the thing. Like,
okay.
They've sort of... There's that... What's it called? Like the... sunken cost fallacy. Sunken cost fallacy, where like
syndrome.
That as well. I mean, there's so many great syndromes to associate with our fans.
Syndrome?
That's something different. That is where they believe Russians were using microwave energy to make people really sick and give them headaches, and it's pretty fucked up.
Maybe
to anyone who does watch our content as well as listening to this, but maybe thought, I haven't released anything in a while. Check out the main channel, Hat Films, because there is a lot more stuff on it recently. Obviously, the last couple of years, there's been a pandemic on, which has caused disruption and chaos. So now there's stuff going on there fairly regularly.
More like Shamdemic.
You haven't done that yet? Yeah,
just
right.
Take it crazy.
God, we cannot have another misinformation thing at the start of our podcast. I mean, this is a satirical podcast.
Yeah.
But if every podcast has it at the front, people would get you'll be numb to it.
Exactly.
You would.
Yeah, like I say, it's like that parental advisory thing on rap albums. This is said a couple of podcasts ago. Whatever.
A tag of I did it. I got parental advisory.
Like, people love that shit. So hey, we're really controversial and we really just about misinformation. So come listen to what we can come up with.
That's what I was just saying. Maybe we got a little bubble that people are invested in. I think we need to improve our first impression of people coming in, and I think we should go in hard with misinformation.
With the misinformation,
yeah.
Right, okay.
It's like, wow, these guys have an interesting take.
I don't know, man. I just don't believe what they're doing. I mean, I'm on the ivermectin. I don't have worms. I'm not a horse, but I'm on it. I just don't trust vaccines. All the other things I'll take anything else apart from a vaccine that literally all the doctors are saying this is the best option. Yeah, well, I didn't go to medical school.
On TikTok, I've followed a few doctors, unverified, but anyway, let's move on to our hypothetical before we get deep into some serious facts.
Okay.
First up, I'll take over today. because Smith was taking a little sip then.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Patron number 1. What do you attribute the biggest successes in your life to? And then how about your largest failures?
That's interesting.
I think people voted on this because they want some insight into like why, how, and Hat Films became a success. So I assume is our largest success, right?
Mm-hmm. Probably.
Us being able to do this.
I'd say it's difficult to...
It's become a career from a fucking fuck about in a uni room.
We talked about it a lot, but is there anything new or nuanced, a different take on the subject that you can enlighten?
The ability to work together is probably something that has been, like, if you want to go beyond like all the things we've talked about in the past, I think if you want to like zoom out and say like what are the traits that you need, I'd say that our ability to work and compromise and get something done between the three of us is probably the most defining characteristic.
Getting shit done,
like,
yeah. I mean, there's not. I'm trying to think of like groups that might work as intensely. I guess most like I was thinking of South Park, where you got Matt and Trey, but I guess they also probably don't work. Or like we live with each other and we record every day and we stream every day.
Yeah,
I don't imagine they would do that.
I was thinking
about
like
this, I don't know, like
it's hard. Like it's hard to like measure like intensity or like because like we don't work as hard as a nurse works an irregular shift. No. Things like like it's about like because I was thinking about the difference between like how hard a person works and how much they get paid. There's like no real relationship. If you look at the like general population, you'll get people who are doing incredibly
you're not awarded for that.
Yeah, exactly. Like you get people there's this false economy of value where like people who are in genuinely really people who work in waste management facilities are like hauling shit all day.
Yeah.
And then there are other jobs like ours which are not destroying our bodies, hopefully.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah. So it is difficult to say, but I think ultimately that we haven't like killed each other yet is probably a good reason that we're capable of.
Well, it's early in the year.
Yeah, I like because
your birthday video is coming up.
People who are like hyper creative, hyper innovative, but oftentimes those people generally do things on their own as well. Like Jeff Bezos doesn't have his famous team around him, does he? Doesn't have anyone like it's like Zuck and people like that. As in, like, I feel like the fact that the three of us have done this and stayed, the three of us and stayed together. I think like that is a huge part, at least from my perspective, of where our success has come from. I think we've been lucky to have success and lucky to be given and find this success and niche and the avenues to create it. But like outside of all of those events that had to happen in order for us to be where we are, like luck. I don't want to call it luck because there's lots of events that like choices that we made. But yeah, exactly. But like, you guys wouldn't have met if you didn't choose to go and do a film and TV degree. Me and Trott wouldn't have met if we weren't both interested in similar things in school and, found that we had a lot in common. Like, if any of those things hadn't happened, doesn't matter how hard we would have worked, this just wouldn't have happened, So like, it's a hard one to sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a, yeah.
Anyway, that's what I think. What do you guys think?
It's hard to say because obviously, like, we got lucky, but at the same time, once you get lucky with something, you kind of have to pursue it, like, and have to kind of put a lot of work in to keep it going. Mm-hmm. So yeah, for us to not, the first hurdle would be us being able to work together, right? And if we couldn't do that, we wouldn't have lasted this long. So yeah, that is one of the biggest successes of Hat Films. Is we haven't, let our egos get ahead of us and, tried to, I don't know, we didn't really have big arguments either. We kind of just, we all know we have a shared goal and we know what we want to do. And we kind of, try and achieve what we can.
Yeah.
And appreciate our audience at the same time. And yeah, because I feel like it could have gone in a different way. We could have, gained millions of subscribers and it could have gone to our heads or some shit. We could be all, driving around in fucking Ferraris and I don't know if that's even in our personality to do those things, to be honest.
No.
But yeah, I
think we have a little bit become. I know I have. Like, you know, I see it sometimes when I talk to people other than you two. Our states of mind is not completely typical of everybody I speak to. You know, like as in our experience of the last 10 years and our experience of the working world and of making money is largely defined by the last 10 years. And so, and we've had this quite bizarre and quite unusual, you know, 10 years for most people. Like, and so I do think that like that is potentially something that we have suffered from slightly, because I think that, well, not necessarily suffered, we've had a great life and a great time and I'm very grateful for it. But what I mean is like our perspective is somewhat a bit incompatible with others. Have you ever found that? Like, you know, like how...
Yeah, you've mentioned this before, where...
We haven't had the same challenges that some people have had, I think, in some
respects. It kind of reminds me of like an amphitheater in Greece, where you have these philosophers that spend all their time essentially separated from society, musing on like, what is life? And this is my job to think about these things and to what's everyone else doing? Oh, I assume they're doing all these sorts of things. I don't actually have to actively participate because I can earn my living being in this amphitheater discussing the higher forms of subjects. I kind of feel like that sometimes, where we're like, we don't have to worry about the day-to-day, the baseline, the getting by, the working and taking part in society in that regard, because we're lucky that we get to do these musings and have fun for entertainment purposes and get paid for it. We kind of like cheating the system almost of like what most people have to do. So yeah, I completely agree. In the last 10 years, you can see where millionaires go crazy and look completely detached from society and like don't understand value like anyone else does. We're like a tiny stepping stone towards that. I understand it. We try and stay grounded. Obviously, we have a direct interaction with the people that watch us on a daily basis and that check us and call us out. And, you know, that's new in this kind of industry. Whereas before, celebs were kind of put on a pedestal and their private lives were hidden somewhat, unless a gossip mag came out. But they could literally shape who they were as like a godlike entity where people couldn't touch, and that probably really gets to their heads. So
like Egypt, yeah,
I'd say our largest success, I'd agree, like Smith, is our ability to work together through
and also
shit.
maintain a level of like wackiness.
Yeah,
you know, it's like in terms of like, I was explaining to Ashman about something we filmed recently, well, Trott's birthday video. He was saying like that's just insane that that's your job. Like you have to do these crazy like antics. It's all filmed. It's like, but we also have to maintain a level of that. Like, I mean,
have to want to do
30,
it.
33, 34 now.
Yeah,
but that's a level you have to kind of like get to. That's like an acting kind of like, you have to be in the mental state to kind of do that stuff. And it's fun. It is a good laugh. But like when you ask a friend what they're up to, that I'm just working in an office. It's pretty boring, pretty dull, or whatever. It's
and
fun.
The stuff on camera is.
You've got to appreciate that we can still do that stuff. And
it does take a certain amount of energy to get to that point where you're on camera being entertaining for someone. And then there's that part afterwards where you got pudding in your pants and you've been in the warehouse for 2.5 hours taken through entertainment for people, and then you got to go home and be like,
what did you say?
Today I was a jester and I've got pudding in my pants.
Pudding in his pants.
Which I wouldn't trade for anything, of course.
And that's not necessarily. I mean, we don't have to do those things. I mean, we can move away from that stuff, and do something.
We could have done a lot of
things first, though.
Yeah, and I think we're just kind of assessing what we know our audience enjoy. But I mean, there will come a point where that's not necessarily something we want to do. But
also,
I feel like in 15 years' time, we might look back and go, "Shit, we were really wasteful with food."
We started doing that anyway. Whereas, like, the stuff we're doing, we shouldn't buy so much of this stuff for this one video, and like more conscious thoughts behind stuff, and even our merch is like, where is this coming from, and like, why are we making it en masse for people, etc., etc. So I think that's also happening, just because we're in a position where we can think about that.
I think it always looks more wasteful than
it looks more wasteful than it is.
Things. Like, we've been on projects before, like for other companies and stuff, and the amount of waste is really horrible. Not that it makes up for what we wasted and stuff in the name of entertainment, but like it gets to a point where you don't end up doing anything, and we're just sat in front of a camera just talking like we are now. Like, that's not as fun, you know.
There's
going to be a little bit of mess, and sure, a little bit of wasted pudding, sure, but
like when we did that Xbox shoot for London, the London screen at Piccadilly Circus, and they just had a load of like clothes there on a rack to like put one of these on, like, that suits you, and they all had labels and tags on them as if they hadn't been used, and like, where the hell are they going to go after that? I assume hopefully they get reused.
No, they return some of them, I think. So they said that some of them that aren't like stock, they will return if we don't use them. So they'll go to like an H&M. But I mean, it's still fast fashion. I mean, it all feeds into that. But
that's just one tiny thing. And like the buffet spread, like excessive amounts of food, that a lot of it will go to waste because they put some weird stuff out that is quite like niche taste.
What's the most we've probably wasted? It's probably Pancake Day videos.
Pancake Day,
food-wise, just in terms of amount. Well, we use the ingredients to a point, and then we still have the ingredients, and like the flour and stuff. I just use it. It's just in my cupboard. But I don't know. It's hard to say, because obviously you do want to measure it up to how wasteful it could be. Like, for example, when we were weighing up whether to fill a bathtub of chocolate, we were like, well, one, you need a fuck ton of chocolate, so it's really expensive. It's really hard to get hold of a lot of chocolate, hard to heat it all up, and also the waste level afterwards would have been ridiculous. So I think the
touch Trott's arsehole. Yeah, imagine that. There's like a little tap at the bottom, like mulled cider, where you just take it out.
Good vintage. But so then the trade up of just using powdered milkshake in comparison, like
that was a good idea.
Things like that, where
it looks like, the part.
We are trying to pay attention to our waste levels, but just making it more theatrical looking.
It's a prop at the end of the day,
and not cause environmental damage at the same time.
It was pretty cold. They tried to heat it up, but it was pretty cold. We tried, to round it back to the success and failures thing, I guess. The question itself is kind of loaded as a career question of like your success in your career and failures. I think that's just the way we're set up to say what is a success and failure. And you could argue that our failure is also part of our success, in that we are a niche trio that is wacky and weird and isn't appealing to the millions that would rather watch, a really tightly edited Fortnite update video or something like that, where we could have the whole shoehorned us into that.
Comparison is the thief of joy, I think. It means that we wouldn't. I'm guessing that's where you were going with it, but ultimately we could say that, but I don't think any of us really think that. I don't think that.
I think my idea of success and failure is shifting. Like the idea that I'm just happy where I am is a success, and failure is just not being happy, I think. That's
exactly.
it.
I think for me, my biggest failure is that I have been overwhelmed quite a lot in the last 10 years in terms of like just the things we've seen, the experiences we've had have been amazing. And in a way, I think we've talked about this before, about like talking to close friends or like, my siblings, for example, where I'm like, we did this amazing thing. And like, when we've traveled places, and it's like, I really would have liked you to have seen it or experienced it, and for me, sometimes that kind of gets to me, in not just that way, but also in a way of like, fuck me, the world is just so stupid. Like, like that we are able to have this lifestyle and other people aren't, and there's not really an obvious route to or from success, and how, like, there are so many uncontrollable variables that it just overwhelms me. Like, I struggle, I suppose, with understanding my value, our value, whether we have any, whether we're doing the right things with our time. I mean, there's the same things everybody worries about, but when you have such a surprise or such an unusual like experience like becoming a YouTuber. Like, you know, I don't think any of us planned this. I know people do these days, but we came from a time when none of us, you know, you guys wanted to go into film and TV production. I wanted to go into PR and marketing, and we were probably all thinking about like, wow, I wonder what the future holds. You know, like where we'll be, like what kind of job we'll be, like what kind of person will end up being. You know, like all of that kind of went out the window, and instead we were on this sort of really unusual ride where we got to see amazing things, and sometimes, yeah, I just sort of
and the whole time anxious that it's all going to go away the next day. As well, I think that's what also plagued us for 10 years. Now. Yeah, it's like every day is like we could wake up tomorrow and like not have any of this, and then have to re-enter society. That has
been a fear in the back of my mind constantly. If we miss something, I'm like, oh shit, like we can't make a stream, maybe that's not good, and there's a backlash or something, or it's stupid and it's like, you know, it's irrational. But like, you know, like you say, it's I guess I put a high value on what we do, and I know that it could just go away tomorrow, because you see some people just drop off the radar.
Yeah.
You know, I saw some comments, some guys thought we'd stopped doing it completely, and I was just like, fuck, like what, really? Like we've disappeared. And that's like a huge fear in terms of like, you want to continue your job. So it's like, it's just, you're constantly grateful for who is watching us, and that there is an audience, because we don't watch ourselves in that same way. So I don't value myself in any way that someone that might.
I don't consume like I create. No. Definitely, but I definitely have been trying to. I watch a lot of YouTube nowadays anyway, and it literally is at the whim of YouTube mercy. You could just subconsciously not even notice that the person you were watching is no longer appearing on your feed anymore. And it's not like you're like actively going to seek that person. You very much enjoy watching their stuff, but because it's not presented in front of you, you just stop watching it. And I think that's what happens, is ultimately the recommended just is like, well, you're into this at the moment, let's just give you more of this. And the hat film stuff, you haven't watched that in a week, so you're not going to see that ever again.
We're going to remove that from your online consciousness.
Yeah,
totally.
And it's not like they made a choice, like, I'm going to stop watching hat films. It's just, it slipped away. And then they look back and like, fuck, I used to watch them all the time. I think that happens a lot.
I think that's like another one of my failures, really, is that like, sometimes I just think like, fuck me, should I just stop using social media? And because like, I honestly, like, it was because I saw something yesterday of like something that just made me really annoyed, and I was just like, God damn, this thing that I would have never heard about or never seen, and it wasn't even like a geopolitical thing. It wasn't like something that would be useful knowing, like, you know, whether or not Russia's invading. And you know, there are genuinely useful bits of news available through social media, but like, I came away from something where I was just like, God, I would have never even known this, and this person doesn't give a fuck about my thoughts on that, and like, you know, all those things. I'm just like, man, how often do I come away from social media going like, sweet, you know, like, unless it's like a comments on our videos, or like our video doing well or something like that, is like the only times I open my phone and go like, nice, you know, like
there's very little times, right, where you're happy. You come away from your phone like, yes.
Exactly. And I'm
God,
just like,
great.
Like some elements of it are like needed, you know, like, and I guess in part, I think the thing that stopped me putting down something like Twitter is a part of me loves the platform, you know, a part of me wants to be heard, you know, a part of me cares about strangers' opinions on the internet, of what I think, you know, like, and then I'm like, God, that isn't healthy either, you know. Like,
well, it's kind of human nature though, isn't it, to want to be part of other people's lives and see what they're up to. Social side.
I think there's a lot of people I know that are around our age that don't really use it in the same way. And obviously, I think I only really use social media because of films and
exactly.
And I feel like obviously, it's constantly in the back of mind that we should be using it more for promotional reasons, but we don't. I mean, because I'll come to sending a tweet and I go, does anyone really want to hear about this thing that I've just written?
I literally did that yesterday.
I just sit there and think, God, that's bollocks. Why am I writing that? So I just back out, and almost all the time, like, I just don't I think I overthink it, and I think that's what it's for. Social media is this kind of like instinctive
stream
like,
of consciousness.
And it's just like, I guess over the last couple of years, I've spent more time in my own head in that sense, because there's been more time and there's less busyness in making videos and stuff.
Also, like, my memory of social media is
overthinking everything.
Like, I will look at my memory through social media is awful, because I will scroll for like 10 minutes, and if I was to put that phone down and be like, what did you just look at? I couldn't tell you what I just looked at. It's like, apart from like the really negative shit that sticks in your mind, it's like, oh, like Smith had. It was like, what the fuck was that? That's the only thing that will stick in my mind, is something bad or like invasive that would stick in my mind. All the other stuff is like, good video today, boiks. Love that. Unfortunately, that doesn't stick as much as horrible, horrific crime has been committed in blah blah.
Or a social media influencer telling somebody they should just work harder.
Yeah. But it's weird because like
what annoyed me. I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
was that Molly May?
No. I can't talk about it. But it's not a Yolks. It's just somebody we know, or somebody vaguely we know.
But yeah, I feel like I have to use those platforms, one, to like get information about what's going on in general, like we get news, but also just to stay in touch with the sphere that we work in, right? So like knowing what's hyped on YouTube,
exactly,
what people are watching, what's exciting for our audience, and also talking points as well. I find it's useful for like when we do things like this, or just in general, like finding funny, dumb news to chat about, because it's hard to just come up with new stuff all the time. You know, we've been doing this for close to 11 years or 10 years.
And we wouldn't have had like pudding through a stocking.
No, exactly. If I didn't Google, I was like, chocolate games, and then some family. This wasn't a viral thing. That's a really unique fucking thing. And then they had knee-high nylon socks on their head and
I'm going to do it. I'm going to commit now that between now and next Hat Chat, no social media at all.
None.
Social media. Okay.
None.
Christ, that is going to be hard.
And we're going to check in.
Should we do it?
Week.
Should we all do it?
Well, I find it hard. Well, define social media, because I look at the comments on our videos.
I think that's fine.
And
when you want to just go on the social media just to pass the time, that's like a no-no. Basically, if it's for work.
Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook.
I don't use. I managed to completely remove Facebook from any kind of usage.
Nice. I'd love to
years ago,
but
I just don't. I just don't.
Yeah.
And when I have gone on it, it's just been so shit that the experience was just like, I'm not going back on that app. There's no need to go on it, because even my old friends don't use it anymore. Like no one that I just don't really know anyone.
It just gives you notifications from people you aren't friends with these days. Like so and so did a post. It's like, who the fuck is this person? But so essentially, my failure is not. You need so much resilience to interact with all of these tools and information sources now. And I guess a failure to an extent, although I don't beat myself about it, is not having the resilience to be able to process it all.
Right.
But I think most people are.
You're into temptation.
I would say my largest failure, my understanding of it, would be probably my compartmentalizing of personalities.
Right.
As weird as that sounds, of like what we do on camera versus being off camera.
Oh yeah.
When I'm on camera, I just don't say a fucking word.
Yeah.
I'm just quiet. I just
serving all that energy.
In a way, and it's weird because it's the same like when we said, there's certain things we won't talk about to each other privately because we're like, we'll save it for a video, and it's just like that's such a weird mentality to have. But all at the same time, it's kind of like this is also our job, so you kind of need to take. There is a value in that.
It's weird because
I just find compartmentalizing those two. It's almost like there's two people.
I do the same thing.
I find that's hard to.
It's weird.
Keep up the energy from this, but then also, I don't know, finding a balance between those two.
Also though, like when I'm in this state of mind, like the whole like making content state of mind, I have a almost different set of values. Like as well, like as in like in real life. I have a different person. You're right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to echo essentially what you're saying, but I felt the same thing where it's just like, I'm really not very much like my online persona if I had a choice, like if I didn't, like, I don't dislike it, but like I live my life personally and privately a little bit differently, and personality and interaction wise, I think a little bit different. It's not how I appear online. Yeah, and it's not a choice, exactly. It's just like the differences of who you are and how you. It's like, you know, having a professional life and a personal life, isn't it? You know, people act differently at work than they do at home, and it's the same thing, but it just feels like a bit more of a blurred line for us until you realize you're like, yeah, I am acting quite differently, and yeah, exactly what you said, really.
It's very strange. I only thought about it, you know, fairly recently. It's just how, like, I do act really differently. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess you would know if, like, but the moment the camera's off, you kind of just quieter. I don't really want to talk lots because I spend all day talking, like, or screaming or singing or whatever we do.
I'm not an outgoing person. I'm not like I'm an introvert, not an extrovert. And my personality here right now, I'm literally talking to a camera to like 400 people, trying to be larger than life. Well, not trying to be larger than life. Like, compared to what I am normally, this is a lot louder and a lot more like confident than I am with family members, for example, or with like personal close friends. I'm like, all right, how's it going?
It's a very different experience.
Yeah,
I'm the same. Even like
not living up to anything, I guess, at that point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So it's a very strange thing that I don't know. I mean, maybe some people have the same thing. Yeah, they act differently in front of people. You would do, like,
everyone.
You know, we're not gonna act the same way we do act here, like with our nan or whatever.
Well, I think it's just necessarily exasperated by what we do. Like it's pushed even further to the limits because, like, this is a performance, and when you're off camera, you're different, and we've just made that worse and worse. Well, not worse and worse, but more polarized the longer we've done it, I guess. So
well, it's become more natural, I think, in terms of like like you click into it. I mean, we are dry as shit with each other, like when the camera's on. Like, we will just, I mean, we would used to laugh, like, we have all fucking nailed it to the point where we'll say something completely outlandish and none of us will even like break crack. We're just like we'll just nod along. It's just we've managed to get that down.
Exactly. And then you think about saying the things that we say in that context to like other people,
anyone else,
like, my God, I'd never say that. No.
We've gone through like 10 years of iteration.
Of one-upmanship on outrage.
How far can you push it? Like Smith making that joke about, what was it, school shooting or something, and Trott just going, you can't say that. Like, it should be fun laughing in the background. Like, but you know, it's almost like we're just trying to make each other crack up most of the time, which is fine. I think that's what's
find the line. Indeed, success and failure are blurred lines sometimes. I think
the largest failure, I guess, clarified would be like a balance of those two. But I just
a better
talked
balance.
about the two different things, but just like finding a balance between those two things, because it can be quite polar. And one's just very quiet. Of this.
Confidence is the other thing. It's like, here we have a reason to be loud and obnoxious because the more we are, the more we get reception to it. Whereas if we're here, it'll be like, hey guys, it's okay today. I'm going to play some Little Big Planet.
That makes it fucking hard. I'll tell you what, that makes it fucking hard to make decisions when editing as well. Because, like, obviously we'll be filming what like recently the Schlogs or whatever, and you know, very high energy. I'm like, God, like, you look at yourself in a more kind of you cringe a little bit, only a little bit, not like
you're like, oh man, why did I say that?
Why did I say that?
You get caught in the moment.
Yeah.
So I do that a lot, weirdly. I don't know if you noticed, but I make some regrettable decisions in the moment.
Well, you did say that you wanted us to dye your hair the other day, and I was like, or cut it. That was it. And I was like, oh, you don't want to say that with the camera. The camera's on.
Yeah, well, not, in the moment, I would have gone with it and like, scissors are there. Let's just fucking do it. I just get very carried away. Like pudding pants. Yeah.
Pudding pants though, but that's I mean, I guess so. But that's all. That was all for show, like you say. It was the jester of the moment.
It's a situation. Full send.
Yeah,
you just got to
pretty much
hardcore go into it. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you're like, it's a time and a place kind of situation.
Indeed.
You wouldn't be pudding pants, on the tube.
Exactly. And imagine the video where I'm like,
unless the camera was out.
Way home.
Imagine me just being like, no, I don't. No, I really don't like
that's
that.
the thing. And at the same time, we would respect that. We would be like, okay, we'll just cut it out. We'll just put something out on.
Yeah.
Else. There's never a point where we'd be like, no, you have to fucking do it for the fucking audiences.
Oh, come on, bro.
Yeah, we would just be like, oh, fair enough. Yeah, let's not do that. One of us isn't happy. Let's just move along. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Like when we don't feel up to streaming, like one of us is ill. Yeah. It was like, okay, we don't have to do it. It's fine.
So, yeah, like, you know, it affects the quality of the stream for everyone else.
Allowed us to keep doing what we're doing is like knowing when one of us isn't up to it, better that we don't. Rather than try and drag ourselves through it. Unless it's a brand deal with lots of money, in which case, suck it up.
Yeah.
Well, it's keeping us. Yeah, it's keeping us going.
It keeps us going. It stops the anxiety of
yesterday,
not earning.
I was so fucking tired, and I'm just like, I know Craig was like really wanted to get us to the trucking thing, but I'm just like, this is
the trucking thing. Yeah.
This is so.
There's a lot
hard
of there's a lot of moving parts to start it off, right?
Yeah. I was just like, yeah, I felt bad for him because I was just like, I really want to like put energy into this, but I had like a terrible night's sleep, and I was just in a really fucking bad mood all day, and I was just like, fucking, I'm sorry, Craig. Like, like
it's so important. Like you can, well, yeah, it affects any work, right? I'm not saying that it's specifically worse for us, but you notice it more.
Yeah, exactly.
In our job,
exactly.
Like you can be grumpy at a desk, and like I remember being in an office job and just being fucking miserable as shit, but I'll still get the PowerPoint presentation done or whatever. Whereas here, it's like,
for sure,
people will be like, "Why are you so grumpy? Wow, and Smith looks tired." Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
and that just makes you worse.
Like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, some people, man, on the internet especially. It's just like
they forget that we're people.
Who do you think? Yeah, exactly. Like, not. And to be honest, I don't feel that like badly subject to this. I will say, no, don't. If you're watching this and you said something to me recently, don't worry, don't beat yourself up. But like, I've seen some people respond to some creators online. Again, this is like the whole Twitter thing where I'm like looking at Twitter and I'm just come away just being annoyed with someone. But like the way some people talk to creators, especially like, why are you doing this? Or that's so stupid. Or like, you don't get this. And it's just like, Jesus, like, you know, imagine walking up to that person and just saying that to them. Like, that is what you are doing. And if I don't know, the thing about the internet is social etiquette isn't really required, or rather isn't enforced, because because of the relative anonymity. And so there's a lot of people who say things in certain ways, and you're just like, man, like, read what you're saying. It's not nice, you know, like.
It's like trying to be the great equalizer, where that person knows that this person has success and popularity, and therefore they are allowed to bring them down a peg or two because they're already reaching success. Like, you're punching up instead of
trolling. Ultimately, is trolling, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And
I think sometimes people deserve to be called out as well.
Yeah, it's hard to take that moment. It's hard to take that moment and go, God, like, you want to reply. But you know that's not going to achieve anything, and like when you do, you kind of feel like, why did I bother? Like,
exactly.
And you just have to appreciate that. I mean, they're from a different background. Like, you have no idea what their situation is. They just felt like having to go online, and at the end of the day, you're probably in a better position. So you've got to brush it off.
Exactly.
We're lucky to not have, like you say, the huge backlash. I feel, again, that would probably be magnified massively if we were huge YouTubers, and that would be the point where you just don't even read the comments. When you then
it's just a different experience altogether.
I like reading the comments because I feel like that's the only relation you have with an audience.
I'm really sad
in the format of not being able to go to events and stuff.
I'm always sad with how like inactive our fucking Reddit has become. Like that's something that I noticed. I don't know whether people just stopped using Reddit as much, but like I'm the same. I really enjoy reading all the comments, and like you can filter them fairly easily. You know, you can see where people are just saying meh, and other people are saying things you're actually interested to hear. Like, you can scroll through it, and that's really good. And like you say, I feel like once you get to a certain size on YouTube, that becomes almost impossible. And it really just becomes about like sending whatever. Like, some YouTubers out there are like very like positive vibes and all this shit, and that's great. I mean, that's better than being a dick for sure. Like, you know, but I do feel like it's very sort of like thin, like, you know, just top coat of like, things are great because like it's their job, you know, like they're making money or whatever. But
I think it's because we see through it, right?
Well, hopefully. I mean, I'd much rather have a few hundred people who are actually, because the reality is, people watching the stream right now and the people that Patreon, that sub, those are the people that are essentially keeping us in this job most of the time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because it's not. It used to be, we get a few 100,000 views or whatever on a video, and that would be mostly where our revenue was coming from. Like ads on YouTube. That is completely changed now, for the worse, I think, because essentially big companies are getting to advertise for less money. I think that YouTube essentially and the way advertising has gone has fucked over the creator, really, is all it's really done. It's just made it cheaper for them to be on content we produce. However, thankfully, there are lots of generous people out there that, I mean, even then, when people give subs, you're giving 25% of that to Amazon. Donating is actually a more direct way to give us money if you wanted to. But the culture has cleverly, by Twitch, the culture has become much more subs, and that's fine. We're still very, very grateful for them. And you get things like emotes and shit like that, and that's great. Again, we're not bothered by that. But it's much better, I think, to have people who genuinely care about it and genuinely fund our lifestyle than us to become a faceless meme kind of character that, yes, is probably vastly more wealthy than we are, but it probably wouldn't help me sleep better at night,
I'd agree.
Frankly,
it'd be nice to afford everything you could ever want from a massive personality like that, but at the same time, are they any happier at the end of the day?
Exactly.
I hope they are.
Yeah.
And I hope that they are living the life they want to live, rather than being catapulted through a life that they thought they wanted and are now regretting the attention of.
And along the way became such a megastar that they then accidentally contribute to negative culture. That's the other thing. You get so big and you have such a following. If you aren't really, really good at managing your communications to people, I think ultimately you're probably going to have a bit of a negative impact on the world. I don't know. There are a lot of very, very big English YouTubers out there that I often talk to about with my cousins who are, guys in their 20s. And I'm just like, yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I think they're a dick. I'm like, you guys have got to realize, and we had a good talk about this, and they do realize it. They're not stupid, but I'm like, I feel like they're like, these guys have got these cool cars, they do all this cool stuff, and all this. And I'm like, yes, they have a big platform, they make lots of money, but you need to bear in mind, and you should expect social responsibility, just like you would from a journalist in a position of power, just like you would from a leader or a prime minister or a president. You should expect a certain level of leadership and social consciousness from these people, because they are in that spotlight, they have that power. So you need to keep checks on these people and call them out. And often that doesn't happen when you get to that size, or it does, and there's a huge
at that point they're disconnected from the comments, where it's like,
I
know better than you because I'm successful and you're not. You can easily fall into that trap of I'm the better than thou situation. But anyway, that's enough of that.
Do you think second one, do you think religion will become obsolete?
No.
No.
That's a very quick one. It's just it's managed to survive a very fucking long time, and people will always have a belief system, whether it's positive or negative.
It comes down to how you classify religion, right? If somebody said, do you think current organized religions would become obsolete? I'd say that's possible, but I think I agree with you that belief is a core element of the human mind, and it doesn't have to be religion that belief is expressed through. It could be a way of thinking, a way of life, a way of acting, a pursuit of something. It all folds into the idea of belief. Personally,
a search for the truth.
It's not always necessarily a bad thing. I mean, a lot of religions want people to do good, but obviously then there's extreme elements of all religions, really, which make things, I'm an atheist, so I don't really. Well,
my personal belief is all organized religion is
really
bad.
A religion, but organized religion can be.
I think all organized religion is fundamentally impossible to make good. I think that when you have systems maintained by people, I don't think really beyond yourself, I don't think they can be a positive impact. I think there can be positive impacts, but overall, I think that organized religions are essentially forms of control that are rooted in thinking that has some value and has some harm. So really, I would rather, if I could choose, and I appreciate this isn't how the world works, but if I could choose, I think that people should be allowed to do what they want as long as it doesn't harm other people. Classic. But like, also, I think it's fine to explore the idea of things outside of what we understand and all that stuff. But I think the problem is that organized religions capture those people who perhaps weren't like, like, as in, I think everyone should have the responsibility of developing their own understanding and own belief of how they think the world works and how they think all that stuff works. I don't think it should then be codified, because I think belief comes from a place of like personal discovery. I don't believe it can then be perhaps preached as doctrine or organized. Like
doctrine's what I have a problem with. It's like, this is the way it is, and there's no budging from that. And when you try and question it, you are blasphemous or you are sinful. And I really dislike the whole, well, who gave you the right to choose, and who wrote that, and who put that? Like, I'm the one questioning those sorts of things. That's where I have a problem with it. It's like our way or the highway kind of situation.
It just creates teams again. It's just more division between groups of people. And it's it causes a lot of issues. But I mean, an individual can do good, but in these
I can see the monetary value though.
Oh yeah.
If we could make our own religion become tax exempt, I quite like that.
We tried to a while back. The old hand of truth. It's coming back, I think, in a big way. Everyone still has that golden hand deities.
And I think that's we all love that, obviously, not just because of the t-shirt sales, and not just because of the now iconic hill on the drive in and out of Bristol. Of course, you get to see from that video. But because it was fun to, like, it was semi-satirical, and everybody like kind of got that, and it was like a really fun,
people couldn't wait to be part of a cult. They couldn't
wait.
I know,
because you want to be, right?
Yeah, I want to be in that group.
There's the tribalism element. It's just let's all get involved. Let's all get our golden hands.
Exactly. It's like being like in a football riot, hell of a buzz.
We'll all be swinging and trying to punch
society.
Whoever.
No. like it's like when you get those massive like riots at school and secondary school when you're out on like the field and like people start playing a massive game of like Bulldog. Like it's fun and like it's got some elements, but somebody said, do I think the same way about corporations because they're sort of organizations? Do I feel the same way? I mean, again, I preface this with what I did earlier. I'm like, this is what I would like. I understand that that's not how the world works. You can't suddenly just go, right, remove all religion. Like it's like saying, like, let's remove all guns from America. Like, cultural changes and shifting in thinking happens over multiple lifetimes. So just saying my particular opinion of it, but like, I don't know. I think that it's about how much good and how much progress ultimately we could all make, because we've only got, I'm very conscious, I mean, like, of my own mortality. It's a fucking nightmare. I feel like I had a midlife crisis when I hit 30, like, where I'm just like, holy shit, like, time is going fast. Like, partly because we've had such a great time, I'm like, this is awesome. Shit, I need to like grab this and be like, right, I'm living right now, like live, what do they call it, like living
live, laugh, love.
Not live, laugh, love, like living on purpose or whatever you want to call it, right? So like live the idea of engaging, like especially since we've got such a great life, like engaging with it and grabbing it and like going every day, like, man, this is the way it is. I'm not going to have this forever.
That's like stoicism in a way.
Yeah, and just trying to get my head in the right place to be like, appreciate it, all those sort of things. But yeah, ultimately, I think that we've all got to try and spend the limited amount of time we have as this kind of organized consciousness that is us, this group of atoms and molecules that happen to come together to make the way you think. Like, you've got to try and act in a way that pushes us all forward, because we're going to die before we get to speed through the galaxy and see all the incredible things out there, you know, the infinite possibility of the galaxy. We're going to die probably before that. Yes, there are some people in TED Talks saying that the first person who lives forever has already been born, but right now my money's on that being a billionaire, not me. So, you know, like as in, what is the most we can do, and how far can we all get each other progress wise and experience wise before we do, you know, melt down and become mushrooms again and a part of the big wheel, the circle of life, or whatever the hell you want to call it, like after we're done being conscious. And for me, that's sort of,
I ain't worried.
Kind of
energy transfer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm just gonna come back thousands of years in the future. As my atoms reassemble into the same form, I'll have these flashback memories and nightmares of my previous life as a YouTuber. What even is that? That's a strange concept.
I'm a mushroom now. I'm a mushroom man.
And I'll be like,
I live through a whole forest.
It's okay.
Something I heard the other day about reincarnation, and how if you happen to reincarnate within the same timeline as you, basically you are everyone at some point within that timeline.
Aren't we
is
just
it egg theory or something? Where basically you then eventually come back as someone else or something else within that same. So you could either meet yourself if you're in the future or in the past. I don't know. It was very confusing, but I was just like, oh shit. So basically you could be everyone. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then there was something about asking someone on the streets how to prove consciousness. And it's quite hard to do apparently.
Oh, absolutely. Especially just a random person on the street. It's something that's been debated for thousands of years by
the egg theory,
smarter people. Oh yeah,
because
that's such a good video. Oh, I love that video.
If you just consider,
that's Kurzgesagt, the egg. Look at that video. Sorry, yeah.
They do some great stuff. Anyway, Big Bang, from nothing is everything, and then hurtling through space for billions of years. Some rocks smash into each other, create stars and stuff. Loads of particles and stuff get flung around and then form gravity wells and whatnot. They all get condensed into a thing, and then millions and millions of years later, on this one spinning orb, is this organisms that start moving together and start working like little machines, and they work more efficiently and optimize themselves for survival, and then they start existing, and then think about, fuck, that's where I came from. We're just the universe experiencing itself. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
really crazy to try and get your head around how insignificant we are. Like that is the biggest challenge, I think, and quite a healthy challenge at that, is to just think about, like, Christ, I am me for such a blink of a moment. Like, you know, what am I going to do with it? And
come back as a shroom.
Yeah,
I ain't worried about it.
I'd be quite happy, I think, if I was connected to the rest of the forest, just like.
I think this is why
there's an owl on my arm.
I'm not too bothered as I get old. I used to be fucking terrified of mortality, but I think as I get older, I'm like, fuck it. It's inevitable, and if I want to slob around all day, it's not going to change the fact that I'm going to die at the end of all of it. Fuck it. I'm happy right now. I don't need to be living on edge, being anxious, like, I got to cram all this stuff in, because, like, if I don't complete the whole game, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I don't need to do all the side quests.
The 9 to 5 slog.
Yeah.
Which is something that we can't.
It's either I can spend the whole time being anxious that time's running out, or not factor in time. Time comes towards me instead. I don't try and chase time.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of strength. And also it kind of depends on what you value, like, in a way, doesn't it? Because, like, say, for example, you wanted to pursue painting, like, all of these different ideas you have in your head, or write all these stories that you have, or, you know, like, solve a big problem. You know, like, say you're trying to do a load of research because you're a research scientist. Like, I guess then you would care about time. Like, as in, if that's what's important to you.
Oh yeah, you want to make that breakthrough or carry on.
It's like, personally for me, where I get a lot of the joy from our job is the experiences that we've had, and, like, the really cool things that we've done that I never would have got to have done if I'd had, you know, the same life I had pre-YouTube. I may have got to do some of it, but, like, no way, like, some of the, like, so for me, that's where I'm like, I mean, yes, it does. You're right. It does kind of suck to sometimes feel that pressure and that anxiety. Definitely.
How many more trips have I got left, etc.
Yeah, but then equally, like I found that if, like, especially in the last 2 years, like if I don't do things, I just get sad.
Yeah.
I personally, for me, that's like my fuel of happy, and that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
well, that's good, because that is like the carpe diem. Like, you're doing it for you in the present, rather than I've got to do my bucket list, which is living in the future.
Which is fill Chris Trott's pants with pudding. That
carpe
was
diem.
A fine day. It was a good day.
For me, it's like turn up and just
get my pants filled
with pud, and then when I walk away from it, that's happened now. I'm happy with that.
That's happened. It's happened in time. I should probably shower, but not right now. When I want to.
Yeah,
enjoy this.
We should really get a shower installed. That one
oh god, yeah, just a hose down would be nice.
Too often do we come across situations where we need to potentially shower before getting back in a vehicle.
So we can totally do this. There are these really useful things now.
Shower bag.
They're like these, they're pop-up shower cubicles. I've seen them people camping. We could totally get one of those.
Yeah.
And then also hilariously push people over whilst they're in them.
Yeah.
We won't do that. We can have a standing agreement not to do that. It's concrete. It's not fun to fall on. Yeah, it's not fun to fall on.
I can't imagine it is now.
I can't wait for the first injury from concrete. Well, I can wait. Sorry, I can wait for that a long time. Okay. Anyway, it's another bumper episode of Hat Chat.
Long,
and Ross, I noticed you put a load of funny news in.
I did put some funny news in.
Maybe you can squeeze a couple in.
Let's see. We got one which was sent in by Kenny Tran. Thank you, Kenny, for sending this in.
Thanks,
this one, it kind of speaks for itself in the headline. Man left with chronic back pain after trying to suck his own penis. Now, we've all been there, where we've desperately
carpe diem
been trying to just see if we can do it, just to see.
Seize the dick.
God, so no way. I got fused vertebrae, man. It was never on the cards for me.
But this...
I've had to live with that knowledge.
This guy made an eye-opening Reddit post about the moment he heard a crack during his latest attempt. He explained that this was certainly not the first time he's tried to do the deed. And to be fair, loads of men will have tried it at least once. I feel like once you get to that point where you actually get your own cock in your mouth, are you are you consciously thinking that you're just sucking your own cock?
Oh, yeah.
You're just sucking the tip of your penis whilst being in an extremely uncomfortable position because you have to double over. Right? Is there pleasure involved in that scenario? I don't know.
I guess there would be.
I want to just.
Or is it just more of a personal achievement to get there?
I want to bring a couple of things into this argument that we often don't hear, right, from these statements, because what you're saying, absolutely, that is often a question. Does it just feel like you're sucking something like dick? But like, I posit two things. First of all, there are plenty of people out there that can suck their own dick because they're that flexible. Look at Cirque du Soleil. I mean, look at Cirque du Soleil. I'm not saying that every man or woman in Cirque du Soleil is doing that kind of thing. But what I'm saying is that there are definitely plenty of men out there who are flexible enough through their jobs or through practice to put their heads between their legs standing up. Like, it can happen. So that element is just because all these people trying it who are having bad experiences aren't limber enough, first of all. And secondly, I think that if you were really limber, I mean, masturbation is quite enjoyable. Why wouldn't, if it didn't hurt your back and neck, why wouldn't that be too? And that, I think those are both valid points that I've tested.
Became part of your exercise routine where you're just stretching and limbering up and you just happen to slip your own cock in your mouth.
Yeah. Whoops. And you're like, well, I could do this.
Whoops.
Or I could just use my hand, I guess.
Yeah.
Works all right.
Or like me, Dyson. Anyway, moving on.
Dyson.
Full function.
Expensive Hoover to use for that, Trot. Just use a Henry.
I treat myself.
It's even got a smiling face, the Henry.
Henry Hoover does have a smiling face.
Oh, man. Can you imagine just walking in on someone who's just like screaming in pain because their back's like made a cracking noise, and they're just like doubled over, like head like right near their crotch. I can't move back because I'm worried.
They probably made
loud
the disc.
Large cracking sound. And
God.
They're like, well, why are you in this position anyway? Oh, I was just checking the floor, but I was trying to set my dick. Fine, I did it. I tried it.
There's worse things.
I almost got there.
Like, I know enough people in the medical profession to know that they would largely just find that funny. I don't think anyone's going to be like scandalized anymore. It's like, oh yeah, I fell on a fucking ketchup bottle. Just kidding. I shoved a ketchup bottle up my ass trying to nut.
I'll have to top up though.
Reach a new high. High
I mean, God's sake, we've got bigger problems than we've got bigger problems, guys.
Of course,
as in, like, this is how I think most people should think now. This guy has now got a slip disc. He's going to be out of work. He's not going to be out in the human race because he tried to suck his own dick. He's happy with not sucking his own dick, like the vast majority of us. All right.
Well, he didn't rush into this idea either. It says here that he revealed that he purposely lost 10 kilograms so his body could move in a way that he wanted for self.
Respect the craft. Respect that craft. It's
gone. Yeah, that's somebody with a
10
mission.
Kilos. That's a lot of weight.
That is someone with a mission to suck their own dick.
Yeah,
really,
and then they hurt their back.
Yeah.
I hurt my back because I've been trying really hard to suck my dick. Well, why don't you just? Oh God. There's too many questions, but I mean, pretty funny.
He's only hurt himself.
Yeah.
He's only hurt himself.
He's not crying about
it. Yeah. Well, it's a flip of the coin. It could be extreme pleasure or extreme pain.
It could just be a completely fabricated story as well, because
of course it could be.
Pretty good story.
Yeah. It's on a Reddit post. It could be complete bollocks. But now you're all thinking about a dude doubled over sucking his own dick. So that's
then later joining Cirque du Soleil.
But it's also on you. Get that out of your brain.
Yeah. I think if you're going to be audacious enough to try and suck your own dick, then you need to join Cirque du Soleil first and prove that you're ready. Prove.
We saw at least 2 of them doing it as they were monkey barring across.
They're like we do it all the time. It's great.
That guy's really falling half up there.
The sound of Michael Jackson sings over the top.
Horny bastard. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, eight men sucking their own dick just came up, just flying above the audience.
Violently somersaulting.
They can get a real tight spin.
That's a real tight spin. Christ. Anyway.
Jesus Christ.
There you go. That's one of the stories.
Lovely.
Save the rest next week.
We've got plenty for next week. Thank you very much for listening or watching us for our hat chat. Let us know if you have any success in reaching that high. And thank you once again to our Patreons for supporting us and choosing the hypotheticals for this week. Very deep discussion.
Chris Trott and Dyson's,
Thanks, Dyson. Appreciate that. If there's any sponsorship opportunities, I will happily do a testimonial.
He'd also kindly request that you create some silicone inserts for the ends of your vacuum
different
cleaner
options would be nice. Different options.
Yeah.
Have you tried cutting the
2
options? Tenga egg?
A Tenga egg on the bottom.
Nice. Good idea.
Tenga tube for Dyson.
The risk is just sucking it up in the vacuum.
Yeah.
Got to make sure
it's the suction that causes the pleasure, that's for sure.
Indeed.
Hard, painful suction.
Ross gets it.
Sorry, there's one comment here that I have to read. Had a friend that could sack himself off, but he was convinced he'd get prions disease from swallowing his own stuff.
Prions?
So a prion, it's a disease you can get. So a prion is a form of, I think, like similar to a virus, but ultimately there are things that can live in you, specifically in the brain. And this is where there is a disease that you can get from eating human brain, because there's a prion that lives dormantly in most people's brains. But when ingested and put through, your digestive system, you can get affected. So this person saying that they could do it, but they were worried that they would get that disease because it's essentially like cannibalism, which is just hilarious.
Well, I mean,
I just like the way
they have to swallow it. I was going to say, they have to swallow it. There's no other outcome. If I do it,
of course I would. Why else would you do it?
I'm worried about all those loads I'm swallowing. I mean, it's a real sexual high, but
setting some harsh rules for themselves.
Jesus Christ.
Well,
it's
thank
a
you for
bad
that.
protein that your cells decide to replicate. Thank you. That's what prion is.
I see.
Right, there we go.
Right. Thank you also for the people sending fingals to our email, and also some funny news like Kenny Tran.
Indeed,
Kenny,
Tran
yes.
sent 2.
Was Kenny, not
two
Kevin.
articles they've sent.
Thanks,
I
Kenny.
only showed one so far, but thank
So
you,
that's
Kenny, for sending those into our email.
Yes, hatchat@hat-films.com. Send it in. Fingals are very much welcome, much like Zach Hughes today, who has the long version now to round us off and we'll see you all next week. I'm off social media now. I'll let you know how it goes. Remind me.
Yeah, wait, hold on. Which ones are you off?
All of them.
Which ones are you using?
I use
YouTube,
Twitter.
We'll use YouTube.
I will use
YouTube, yeah.
YouTube Studio.
Just YouTube.
Okay.
For a week. Fucking hell. I'd love to try that. I'm going to give it a go.
Good luck. We'll see you in a week. See how it goes. If we remember.
Christ. Exactly. That's the thing. You'll just open your phone and just bam. You're looking at social media.
There I am again.
I think you can put locks on apps now. Or locks.
I actually have focus modes. You can do that on the iPhone. Not here to promote it, but yeah, you can just turn all the apps off and only have certain apps on your screen at certain times of day, which is interesting. Anyway, we'll let you know how it goes, and we'll see you in the next Hat Chat. Have a great week, everybody.
Ta-ra for now.
Bye.